Today I'm going to share a concept I have been developing and really hoping to get some feedback from you guys who are professional. And I'm so grateful for Peter to give me opportunity to speak in this forum. And,
oh, you are a professional. You published already a couple of papers in those areas.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it's my new thinking, and yeah, we like some feedbacks and see if we can work together. Yeah, the concept is called Platonic computer. I'll go into details how this works, and I propose it's a universal machine from which abstract entities are originated. Yeah, when we talk about Platonism, we always know that there's abstract entities in the realm of forms, and I'm offering a mechanism how those abstract entities are produced. So let me start with my slides. Platonism holds that there is a realm of forms, also called Platonic world or Platonic realm, and the physical world is actually a shadow of this Platonic world. Yeah, so that's the main concept. The physical reality is actually a poor imitation, a poor copy of the realm of forms in the Platonic realm. Yeah. So in the Platonic world, we have universals. Yeah. And in the physical world, we have particulates. And the particulates are shadow of the ideal world. So, for example, we have lots of different dogs, different shapes and the sizes. But there's a realm of forms, there is ideal dog. Okay, so this is the basic concepts of Platonism. Yeah. So what I've been postulating is that can we apply this principle in terms of computation? Yeah. So in the physical world, we have a physical computer, which is made of silicons and semiconductors and circuits. Yeah. So I'm postulating that there should be a Platonic computer also in the realm of forms. Yeah. So how do we study this Platonic computer? We already gained tremendous knowledge about physical computer. Yeah. Can we use this knowledge actually to study Platonic computer? Suppose there is a abstract computer in the realm of forms. So that has been my main interest. So let me talk a little bit about computer and computation. Yeah, going to the very basic, what is computation? Fundamentally, going back to very basic, computation is actually to answer a very simple question. So to compute is to answer a very simple question. So what is the question?
To be or not to be, that is the question.
So it is actually to answer a binary question. Yeah. Yes or no. To be or not to be. On and off. So basically computation is actually to answer a very simple question. Only a binary question. And you choose one of the polar opposites. Yeah. And in a physical computer, we use machine which have two binary states. In the electronic circuits, you only have two states, on off. Yeah, and this is the basically how the physical computer works. You have binary states, on off. You have input, which is on off, and you have output, also on off. Yeah, although it's a very simple concept, but through programming, you can have tremendous amount of power. So yeah, we can develop from handling numbers to handling text and then images. Nowadays, the computer handles everything, yeah, including videos and multimedia. Yeah, but fundamentally, it's basically making a decision to choose yes or no, zeros or one, and on and off. Yeah. So in Platonic computer, I propose that there's also two binary states. Yeah, one state is unmanifested consciousness. The other one is manifested consciousness. Yeah. So there's two states, but the two states is made of consciousness. This is roughly how the Platonic computer is constructed. Yeah, we start with a meta consciousness. I'll come back to the definition of meta consciousness in a minute. Yeah, so from meta consciousness, we have the existence. Then the meta consciousness digitalize self into a binary states. Yeah, as I mentioned, manifested meta consciousness and unmanifested meta consciousness. So we have two states now. Yeah, with these two states, we can have the three elements, which is metadata and meta program and meta processor. Yeah. So those three elements are also made of consciousness. Yeah, because we have now a switch, metaphysical switch made of consciousness, and use those binary states. We can store data, we can program it, we can run the machine. And so the processing output of this system, this Platonic computer, is abstract entities. So this is the basic framework. So we introduce the idea of Platonic computer and make this computer responsible for generation of abstract entities. So this is the basic concepts. And we use meta-consciousness as a building block for this computer. Let me go back to the concept of meta-consciousness. And I gave it a working definition. I call it, it's a potential power to conceive, to perceive, and to be self-aware. Yeah, so it's a power to create, to experience. And also it has an I already built in. Yeah, I am. Yeah, before I am this, I am that. Yeah, so that this is my definition. And through this conception, we have this Platonic computer, as I mentioned, it made of three elements. So we have a metadata made of pixels and voids, i.e. zeros and ones. We have a meta program Machine language is also made of zeros, ones, and we have a switch which made of metaconsciousness to process information. So this is a summary of this conjecture. So we presume existence of operating computer in the realm of forms, yeah. And the Platonic computer is made by, made of, made with, made from metaconsciousness. Consciousness is defined as the power to conceive, to perceive, and to be self-aware. And it is regarded as the most fundamental and irreducible existence. Okay. Abstract entities in the realm of forms arise from metaconsciousness by computational processing of Platonic computer. Yeah. And physical computer is a shadow of Platonic computer. And therefore, we can use the physical computer to simulate the Platonic computer. Yeah, we already have a physical computer. We can manipulate the physical computer. Yeah, and from this, we can postulate how the Platonic computer is manipulated. Yeah, because it's a shadow. There's a relationship between those two. Yeah, one is the shadow of the others. Yeah. So from manipulating physical computer, we can have some idea how the Platonic computer works. Yeah, that's the basic concept. And so from simulation, we can know how it works. Yeah, because it's only a shadow, it can only simulate part of the property of Platonic computer using physical computer. Yeah. For example, we can use a physical computer to simulate weather. Yeah. But we can only simulate a part of the property of the weather. Yeah, we cannot simulate everything. Yeah, in this case, we can simulate the dynamic of a cyclone, but we don't get wind or wet in the screen. Yeah, so we can only simulate a part of the property. Yeah, however, which is already very useful. Yeah, I'll give some examples of how simulating using physical computer can actually mirror the operation of the Platonic computer. For example, numbers, natural numbers are regarded as an entity in a Platonic realm, actually, because they don't exist in the space and time. Yeah, no one has tripped into number 3 or found a number 2 in the kitchen cupboard, which I'm in the kitchen at the moment. So it's not in space and time, but yeah, it actually exists in Platonic realm. Yeah, and so with this introduction of a Platonic computer, we can redefine what numbers are. Yeah, for example, if we run a +1 program, yeah, if we run it in a physical computer, we have output of symbols like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. And if we run +1 program in a Platonic computer, we get the essence of numbers. Yeah, we get oneness, two-ness, three-ness, etc. Yeah. because Platonic computer is made of metaconsciousness, it's more meaningful. It has a deep meanings. It has essence. It's made of consciousness. Therefore, we have essence, which is produced by this program in a Platonic computer. Yeah. Also in physical computer, for example, we have this, we can program in a computer to output numbers. Yeah. But we don't have the essence what numbers are. Okay. If we run the same program in a Platonic computer, we actually get the essence of what colors are. Yeah. In a physical computer, we can get the phenomena, property of numbers. But in the Platonic computer, we can output the essence of color. For example, redness, greenness, blueness. In my model, the space is not given. The space itself is actually an output of computation. Yeah, if we simulate a 3D space in a physical computer, we can generate a 3D space, and with 3D space, we have we can build objects. Abstract object in this case is a Platonic objects. And so this is the only appearance of 3D space. But in the Platonic computer, we can have the concept of objects, concept of the 3D space. Yeah. Yeah, as Peter mentioned, I have a couple of publications on these concepts, and one of this is in the philosophy and computers. It's online. If you have interests, you can have a look. There's more details, and yeah, it's called Digital Consciousness and the Platonic Computation. Yeah, and through this model, I attempt to unify consciousness, mind, and matter. Yeah, the model is called the Metacomputics. So basically, the consciousness become digitalized into binary states, and through that binary states, we have a computation. We produce entities. Yeah. So from this model, we answer the question how the universals, how the abstract entities come into existence. Yeah. This is actually all I prepared for. I'm ahead of time, and I can give some time to the next speaker or answer some questions if you have any. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
I think we would be very interested in you answering questions. Thank you for your presentation. And I want to open floor for discussion. Any questions at this point? Please don't be shy. We are in a very small room, so.
I've got one. It's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I started a little bit late with your presentation. It looks very interesting. The topic looks very interesting. So when you say oneness is an essence, I mean, essence is drawn from philosophy, but I also heard you mention concepts, which concepts we associate more with psychology. And this is something I've struggled with a little bit myself. I mean, how would you distinguish an essence from a concept? Because it sounds like they're kind of the same thing. You're not talking about some determinate object. You're talking about more like the idea of, when Plato's forms, that's in a way, a form is kind of like a concept, but I mean, in philosophic terms, I know a form is presumed to be existing independently, up in the heavens somewhere. So basically, my question is how you distinguish, if you would, an essence from a concept.
Yeah, to my mind, it's actually same thing. And people talk about abstract concepts as opposed to concepts. So Platonic realms more deal with abstract concepts. But the concept itself is idea. It's not anything not in space-time. I think it is in a Platonic realm of forms. Yeah. So if the concept is not in space-time, then it is in a sort of a idea. It is in an ideal world. Yeah. In that sense, actually, every concept is
the one thing I think about with essence is that it could exist independently of humans, I think, because a concept we really associate with humans. And if everyone disappeared, including animals, it seems like the essence would still continue on.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's actually even beyond the time. Yeah, not only beyond human, but beyond time and space. Therefore, even before the creation, before the Big Bang, it should be there already. Yeah. In my model, actually, everything is a processing output of this Platonic computer. Not only the abstract forms, but also the universe itself is a processing output of this computation in the Platonic realm. And the Platonic realm is not in this physical space and time. And the physical space is actually a processing output of that. So it's beyond the space and time in this physical reality.
it sounds really interesting, I think.
It's very difficult to prove, but nowadays the science has moved on because we used to do physical experiment to prove things. Nowadays we use computer simulation all the time to prove things, and therefore, although the Platonic realm is difficult to study, my argument is that we can use a physical computer as a simulation to simulate that space as well. So we can develop Platonic further. I mean, Platonic always deal with the universals, which are unchanging. It's a constant. And this actually pushed the Platonic further into a kind of dynamic system. You have a computation, you have two states. Instead of, you can have the polar opposite two states which can alternate instead of stationary, unchanging. Yeah.
May I contribute to this to this discussion? Thank you for the very interesting presentation, and for me it's interesting because it is close to the pan-computationalism, which is close to me, and obviously we are on the metaphysical level. So this is why we have the problems, fundamental problems with the concepts, because it's not the same like the concepts we are using in the science. I made the interpretation that this fundamental metaphysical entities we could interpret as the structures. So we could say about some fundamental structures. It goes from the philosophy of mathematics, and for example, my teacher Michael Haller make this Platonic interpretation, and in this world it is similarly that there are some fundamental structures, Platonic structures, which originate as everything. So in this way, everything in the reality is a process of computation, because this is the realizations of some Platonic structures. And my question is, of course, from the original Plato's view, there is a discrete numbers, 1, 2, 3, and however, for me, it's not clear if the reality embodies really the discrete mathematics. How to prove it? Because maybe the ontology is far-reach. Maybe we should think about the continuous computation. Maybe the continuous models. And maybe so. My question is not this original Platonic approach a kind of anthropomorphization? Because of course we think in this way. However, if the world is built in this way, for me it's not fully clear. So this is this is my fundamental problem. How to prove that we should take this digital ontology for the computation.
What a great question.
Yeah, digital and analog can be interconverted mathematically, but digital is a lot more simpler. You only need to deal with 2 states, and which actually can generate everything you need, even in mathematics. Yeah, you just need to run a number of computations to get closer to what you need to do. So as I demonstrated, even the fundamentally number can be generated as a binary states. Yeah. So fundamentally, I think it should be digital. And the plus it's a lot more simpler than analog, continuous. So that's my view.
Of course, it's simpler. However, in my view, if you agree to the digital ontology is fully convertible to not analog model, you should assume that you that you deal with the actual infinities. So,
yeah.
so during the computation, it embodies some infinities.
Yeah, actually, with this digital ontology, you can resolve the Zeno's paradox very easily. Yeah. So I don't have time to go into detail, but if you have interest, we can discuss further. The Zeno's paradox can be resolved very easily if the space-time is discrete rather than continuous.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let me also follow up with my question. Yes, I'm persuaded by Professor Aaron Sloman from his last year article. I think it was in Synergy or one of the MDPI journals, and also his presentation this year at this conference. that there are many things that we can in fact do by continuous geometry-based computing that in discrete computing lead to paradoxes or unclarities. But I think I would like you to follow on the concept of fairness. Yes, because I think this concept was less clear to me in your graph. You started presenting processors. How are there, your identification of unity and duality was very clear graphically. Where is exactly the fairness? Okay, thank you.
Where is the exactly what?
Fairness, you know, Trinity, what you call it, but Plato would call it fairness probably. Okay, so the third group, you have unity clear, duality understand, diversity, you don't say much, but Trinity, I would expect a triangle here, but we have something else. Please help me understand your take on it.
I didn't actually get your question clearly, but
okay, the question is about your category of unity on this graph is clear. I understand existence, duality. I understand those boxes. It is clear. Then comes Trinity, and I don't understand why the meta processor, etc., meta program is in Trinity. Many people talking about Plato would use triangles here, but you are using more advanced notions, and I want to see whether you relate to Plato or more to pairs, because I'm a little bit lost in terms of clarity.
Yeah, because in computation, if you have a duality, if you have a binary, and you can make a computer, and you can build up a database, and you can build up a program pack using those two states. So that therefore you can generate those two components, three components in the, I call it the metacomputation system as well. So in this case, the computation itself is dynamic. For example, I'll show you here. This is basically a switch, on-off switch. Yeah. So the processor itself is dynamic, whereas the programming and the data is stationary. Yeah, you use the data and the program to input into this dynamic computation. So there's the three elements here. Yeah.
So your answer to me illustrates why you believe that discrete computing is simpler than continuous computing that you gave to Pavel.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Do you have any other questions, please?